So is he a Kabuki actor who fights in the quantum realm, or a guy who fights Kabuki actors using some kind of quantum technique, or like just someone who's had enough of Kabuki actors doing quantum physics, or what? Well, hello again. I'm Roger the Retrogaming Puppet, and this is Obscure Old Games. Perhaps you've missed me, and that's because I'm being held down. But thanks to Jonathan over on Patreon, I am back. Because they wanted me specifically, yes, me and not Joe, to talk about a weird old NES action game. So I'm going to do that. Kabuki Quantum Fighter is a game in the grand tradition of taking a licensed game from Japan and stripping the license out of it. You may recognize this from such games as Kung Fu, Blazing Lasers, Phantom Fighter, and UN Squadron. In this case, Kabuki Quantum Fighter is based on a Japanese film called Zipang, which I haven't seen, but based on how folks talk about it, think I need to. People compare it to a Japanese Jodorowsky movie, and that guy's movies are something else, ain't it? The game title isn't Zipang though, it's Jigoku Gokuraku Maru, which according to Google Translate means Hell Paradise Maru. And while that's a great title, I'm not sure how people are supposed to know that it's based on that movie with this title, but whatever. Anyways, the game was designed by Human Entertainment, you know, the folks behind the legendary Fire Pro Wrestling series, and published in North America by HAL, believe it or not. Yeah, the same HAL known for Smash Brothers and Kirby games. In Japan, it was published by purveyors of many licensed titles, Pack-In Video. You know, those folks responsible for the not as bad as its reputation would have you believe Die Hard on the NES. This game was designed by Hiroyuki Ito, but not that Hiroyuki Ito. Yeah, it's weird, but there were in fact two guys working in video games in the 90s named Hiroyuki Ito. One of them directed Final Fantasies 6, 9, and 12. He's still at Square directing the forthcoming World Ends With You game. But this isn't that guy. This Hiroyuki Ito was behind this game and Human's Gilligan's Island game for the NES. Then it looks like he went to Konami and did graphics and art for the X68000 port of Castlevania, which we in North America got on PlayStation as Castlevania Chronicles, and then he just disappeared. I mean, that happens, you know? People come and go in the games industry, unfortunately, but at least this Hiroyuki Ito gave us one heck of an NES action game before he departed. The original plot of this game is apparently something about a 15-year-old kid using a machine to let him inhabit the spirit of his ancestor, a Kabuki actor who is also a warrior of some kind, to fight monsters, I guess. I'm not totally clear on it. But the version we got in the English-speaking world deals with a bleak future in which a rogue AI is gonna nuke us all or something, unless one brave army colonel named Scott O'Connor lets himself be implanted into a computer, Tron style, to battle said evil AI computer virus thing that's about to nuke us or whatever. Frankly, I love that Scott is a full-bird colonel at 25, as well as a trained fighter and computer hacker. That's just delightfully ridiculous. Also, similar to the Japanese game, he becomes a Kabuki actor because his ancestor was one. I guess Scott O'Connor must be Japanese on his mother's side. Now, look, we're not going to bore you with a ton of theater history about Kabuki, but Joe got a degree in theater studies and he's not going to let me totally ignore this stuff. Scott's form in the computer world in this game isn't just a Kabuki actor, but one of the most iconic types of Kabuki characters. A shishi, a lion-like creature from Japanese mythology, associated with both Shintoism and Buddhism. When you see a Kabuki performer with a long red or white wig tossing their hair all around, that actor is portraying a shishi. Kyoshiro from Samurai Shodown is another great example. But let's actually talk about the game a little, huh? This is one of the better known second-tier side-scrolling action games on the NES. Not Castlevania 3 or Ninja Gaiden, but definitely a fun game in the genre, alongside games like Power Blade, Vice Project Doom, and Batman. As Scott, you travel through the computer controlling the world's nuclear stockpile in order to prevent a nuclear holocaust. Your main is your main weapon. Yeah? As in your hair. Yeah. The B button will headbang the nearest opponent to death, though Scott cannot rock out and crouch at the same time, so hitting B while ducking will let your enemies get these hands. But unfortunately, the punch is shorter range than the headbang. But that's not all. Scott has a range of subweapons at his disposal, with each of the first 4 stages unlocking a new one for use at any time, as long as you have chips, that's this game's version of Castlevania's hearts, to use them. You start with a small straightforward shot that uses 1 chip, but then you get a bigger, longer range shot, a 3-way shot called Quantum Bombs, which is too good not to mention the name of, Dynamite, and finally, the remote-controlled Bolo, which fires 3 homing shots. Unfortunately, the mechanics of using these are one of the few things I don't love about this game. Select chooses your weapon, but then it's just the B button to use it, meaning you don't have the option to switch on the fly between your hair and the sub-weapon, like you do in games like, well, yeah, Castlevania and Ninja Gaiden, which I'll try to stop mentioning, but geez, Human sure did wear their influences on their sleeve here, making it doubly frustrating that they didn't just go with up and B to use the sub-weapons like the games that inspired them. Other than that, Scott can run and jump as you expect in this type of game. Certain types of walls can be climbed, but not many. The real standout feature here are the platforms you can hang from. Just jumping up to them will leave you to dangle, and you can kick enemies from here with B. But hitting A will see Scott swing himself up into a jump, and holding A as you go from one to the next will see you continuously automatically jumping, necessary in some of the later stages to avoid hazards. And these platforms will create areas that have an almost bionic commando vibe in terms of swinging between them to reach the next area. I've seen this game referred to in some places as Nintendo hard, which is to say, well, very, very difficult. But I honestly think that's down to 2 major things. The final boss is a bit of a chore, and you only get 2 continues by default. This game isn't exactly controller-throwingly tough from moment to moment, but having to start all the way over from the beginning after just 3 total tries, well, that might do the trick. Fortunately, there is a stage select code, which not only lets you pick your stage, but allows you to pick the specific checkpoint you start from, though for most stages the only checkpoint is at the boss. Now, there is generally good reason for that. Most of the stages are pretty short. In fact, that's the biggest problem with this game. I wish there was more of it. It's just 6 short stages, and the last one is literally just the final boss. And sure, if you have to continue on the final boss, it will throw you back to the start of Stage 5, the longest stage of the game. But even then, the first section of Stage 5 has an easy-to-grab one-up that respawns on every life, and the second section of Stage 5 is considerably easier than the first, if you ask me. Aesthetically, the game looks great, like a lot of later-era NES games do, as you can see. And overall, the music is good too. Except the music for Round 4, which is absolutely eardrum-bustingly bad. Just listen. And yeah, folks, this is captured from real NES hardware. It just sounds that bad. But the rest is pretty good. And once you beat the game, there's a teaser for a sequel that never happened, and a sound test if you want to listen to these tracks all by themselves. Ultimately, this game is a blast, and I'm really glad Jonathan requested it because, well, we've had it for years and never been properly motivated to finish it. If you're into NES action games and you've exhausted the Mega Men, the Ninjas Gaiden, and the Castlevania, then this is absolutely one you need to check out. Unfortunately, it's kinda expensive these days. We used to have 2 copies because we saw a second one so cheap and then gave it away. Now it's about 30 bucks for a bear cart and closing in on 100 bucks complete, which I guess isn't that bad, but yeah, maybe check it out via other means first, just in case. And on that front, sadly, it's never gotten any kind of re-release, so yeah, there are ways. But, you know, since it's based on a movie, it's unlikely to ever get any kind of genuine re-release, unfortunately, but don't let that stop you. And that does it. I'm Roger the Retro Gaming Puppet, and I'll see you next time, right here on Obscure Old Games. Hey folks, it's Joe. Thank you so much for listening to Roger talk about Kabuki Quantum Fighter. If you would like the opportunity to request a video, much as this one was requested by Jonathan, you can go ahead and support the show either on Patreon or via YouTube membership. There is a level to get requests, or you can just give $1 per video and get early access to new videos and your name here alongside these cool people, as well as the chance to vote in polls and other stuff. If you liked the video, please do consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that stuff that everybody asks you to do. Hit the stupid bell. There's also merch and single-time donations available in the description below, as well as affiliate links to small businesses that I personally support and shop at. If you click those links and buy something, it kicks a few bucks to me, and it does, in fact, help the channel. All this money goes back into getting new equipment, new systems, and all kinds of stuff to improve the videos. If you want more obscure old games, there's a video on the left, Roger talking about something. I haven't decided what yet as I'm recording this. And if you just want to check out more crazy NES action games, on the right is an old Halloween special about Castlevania 3.